Okay, welcome. Like I said in this video, we're going to show you how to create a data table from scratch using Google Sheets. Okay, there's a lot of data out in the world around us, and organizing that data makes it a lot easier to analyze that data. Now, from our website, we're on the project called Analyzing Weather Data. I likely provided you with a direct link to this page in Google Classroom. You probably already watched the background phenomenon video that explains a little bit about weather factors. And now we're in task 1. Underneath the procedures, we have several procedures for you to read. It's important that you're reading and following procedures. That's one of the most important skills that any student or adult could practice. If you read the procedures carefully and you follow those procedures, you'll likely be fairly successful in whatever task you're trying to complete. I find that when students are running into trouble, often it is because they did not read or follow the procedures or the directions that were provided. I know we live in a time of easy access to information and quick responsive type applications, videos, websites, and so on. But it's really important that we slow down and we read and follow the procedures. The first procedure tells you to open the blank Google Sheets data table in Google Classroom. So if you go to Google Classroom, you'll be able to open that up. You should also open up your timesheet for this unit so that you can track your progress on this assignment. At the end of class today, when there's a few minutes left, you can pause what you're doing, make note in your timesheet where you left off and what you completed, and then you can close out for the day. Now, the instructional videos that you'll be watching will help you create and format your data table, and that's what this first video is going to show you how to do. Now, when we watch the video that explained a little bit about weather factors, you'll notice that some of those factors are located here. Now, these are the header row column titles that you're going to need to put into your data table, and I will show you how to do that. In addition to the factors such as cloud cover and the barometer trend, or also known as bar trend, the barometer, rain amount, okay, relative humidity, and current temperature, there's also time and date. Okay, so we're going to have a table that reflects all of this information. And then over the course of the next few days, we're going to visit our LVMS Weather Station webpage to gather this data and record it in our data table. So to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to open up Google Sheets from there. I would suggest you use the template that I provided you with. It's blank, but it has your name attached to it. Makes it a little bit easier to turn it in Google Classroom. However, if you were starting from scratch for another project, this is how you would do that. And you would start a new spreadsheet by using the blank template. Again, please visit Google Classroom to get your template for this particular lesson. Okay, so what you have here is a spreadsheet. And this file is actually called a workbook. And at the bottom, you'll see we have one sheet. Okay, so this is one spreadsheet within the workbook. You can add additional sheets, which would add additional tabs by clicking this plus button, which you do not have to do at this moment in time. But I wanted to just point out that each one of these is a separate spreadsheet, but the entire file is called a workbook. So if you're working on one project, instead of opening up separate Google spreadsheet files or workbooks, you can create multiple tabs if the information relates to each other. You'll notice there's little arrows next to each of these sheet tabs. And if you click on those arrows, there are some commands underneath there that you'll have access to as well. Now I'm going to just delete those two sheets before moving on. Okay, something else to point out is that you have columns which go up and down on your spreadsheet, and they are lettered with the letters of the alphabet. You also have rows that move side to side horizontally across your spreadsheet, and those are numbered. Now, if you've ever played the game Battleship, you may recall that you call out a specific row and a column in the game Battleship to see if your opponent's ship happens to be in a particular coordinate. And just like that game, each of these boxes, which is referred to as a cell in this program, has what's called a cell address. For example, this cell here that I just clicked on has an address called B for the column it's in and 5 for the row it's in. And so we would refer to this cell as cell B5. This cell here would be cell D10. All right, so throughout the videos, you'll hear me calling out certain cells for you to click in, or certain rows or columns to address. If I ask you to address an entire column, you can click on the letter of that column title, and that will highlight the entire title. The entire column. All right, if I ask you to select a certain row, like 6, you can click on the number 6, and that will select the entire row. So sometimes that's important. Other times I ask you to click and drag on certain cells. For example, if I said to click on cell B3 and drag across to E3 and then down to E7, that would highlight all of the cells in that particular set of instructions. A few more things to note is just like any other program that you've used in the G Suite, for the most part, most of the programs anyway, there's a pull-down menu. And underneath the pull-down menu, there are a bunch of different commands that we will be using. And oftentimes, many of those commands are also accessible from the icon menu. And you'll notice as you hover your cursor over any one of these, you will get information on what that particular command does. And finally, this box right here is kind of special. When you click on that, it highlights the entire spreadsheet. So when you're applying some formatting, for example, if you wanted to make all of the text in the entire spreadsheet a certain color, you can click that particular button, and then you can apply the text color format, and then that would make any text that's in this entire page a certain color. By default, the color of the text is black. Okay, so those are just a few basic pieces of information for you. You'll also notice, like many of the other G Suite programs, you can star a file if it's important, and that will help you locate it a little bit easier in Google Drive. You can also move it by clicking this folder to a specific location in your drive, or you can add a new folder. And you can name your folder, and you can then click the checkbox, and then you would then have this particular file moved into that location. And of course, you should always title your projects. All right, so those are just a few basic, little basic overview of Google Sheets and the different tools. In the next application video, I'm going to show you how to create your table. Thanks for watching.